Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the moment we've all been waiting for this year, the graduation ceremony, our commencement program for the 2024 edition of the Modjeska Simkins School for Human Rights. I'm Robert Mean II, the lead instructor for the Modjeska Simkins School, and I just want to say thank you to students, the spouses of students, alum who joined us this semester, to everyone who has provided support for the Modjeska Simkins School for Human Rights this year. Now, I have been doing the school since 2019. The school has been around since 2015. We've been here for 9 years now. And I think it's safe to say that every single year in which we've done the Modjeska Simkins School of Human Rights, the school has become more timely and more urgent year to year to year. Right now, we are in a situation where we face book bans across this country, including and especially in South Carolina. The very idea of teaching the truth about American history and about world history is under siege in a way it hasn't been in a very, very long time. And oh, by the way, there are several wars going on, and the planet is quite literally burning up. Otherwise, everything's fine. All kidding aside, though, I know that we have a lot of problems to deal with right here in South Carolina, across the country, and around the world. But what gives me hope every single day is knowing that the folks in this room and folks on Zoom are also out there trying to continue the good fight against tremendous odds. We all know, taking the Modjeska Simkins School, that there have been plenty of folks throughout the history of South Carolina who have fought back against incredible odds. And of course, with this week being the week of Juneteenth, I think this kind of lesson is especially timely right now. The land on which we walk together and trod together, the places in which we've learned together. All of these things have been changed, I think, for the better by the freedom fighters who've been based right here in South Carolina. And our school is named after one of the greatest of all those freedom fighters, Miss Modjeska Simkins. I think if she were here right now, Miss Simkins would be telling us all to steel ourselves for battle, to prepare ourselves for a long and bitter conflict. But she'd also remind us that this is a fight worth fighting. This is a battle worth winning. We can make South Carolina the kind of state it needs to be if we work together and if we take the lessons from this course and apply them to the problems and the plights of the here and now. But today is a day not just of commencement, but of celebration as well. Above all, celebrate yourselves. You survived this semester at the Modjeska Simkins School. And if you don't celebrate, I will, because I am also happy and pleased that we've come to the end of another fantastic semester of this school. This is one of the favorite things I've been able to do my entire career here in South Carolina. And every year I say this, but I think this has been our best class yet. You guys have been energetic, you've been thoughtful, you've been resourceful. You've asked questions I never thought about before, and you've brought to the school a unique and positive energy that is so important in movement circles. Again, making revolution, making good trouble also requires having some fun now and then. So today, let's have some fun, let's have a good time, and above all, please celebrate yourselves. Give yourselves a round of applause. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to call up to the podium Brett Bursey, our fearless leader, who will do a few recognitions and also talk a bit more about the school as well. So, Brett, come on up.
That'd be great. The most important job of an organizer is to work themselves out of a job. I've been at this for over 60 years and I'm really tired. And I'm feeling good though that we've got something going where there's going to be people to keep this going. As you know, that my communications director for the last 32 years, my wife for 18?
Very long time.
Very long. Maybe not much longer, but we put our home up, investing in your future, in your children's future, and your grandchildren's future, that this building will be here next to Modjeska Simkins' house that the National Park Service is now a partner with. So this is here for the ages. It's our mission to make it teach the truth. And that we see the truth being a very elusive thing, controlled by the people that control the legislature. One of our founding members who's passed now, I think he died at 96 years old, Jim Campbell, who didn't get involved, he said, until late in the game. It was after World War II that he became a communist. And that Jim had this saying that the more I say it, and the more years it passed since I've heard it, the more chillingly true it is. And Jim, one of his statements was, education is the placenta of the state. Education is the placenta of the state. It's that which nourishes the new people. And so the state, as evidenced by the South Carolina's Department of Education, the superintendent of education now, is a clone of the Heritage Foundation. And her bosses are Mark Meadows and Cleta Mitchell, two people that have been indicted for trying to steal the election. This is a model project done by the Heritage Foundation for that purpose, to privatize and Christianize, quite Christianize, education. So as Dr. Green said, South Carolina is a firing line. W.E.B. Du Bois said that in 1946 right here in Columbia. And so we have this tremendous opportunity and responsibility to take advantage of the resistance that we've learned about during this class, but also the fact that the repression here has been so steady and consistent. My sense has always been that this place is going to have a greater potential for radical change than Boston or Berkeley, because there's these liberals there that will intervene and say, well, we can fix it. We don't have to have this radical revolution of values that Dr. King called for. So that spring is held down, and we're going to be the tripwire that releases that. But I wanted to just take a few minutes to recognize some of the people that are making this thing roll. Obviously, everybody knows the great Dr. Green, and he's somebody that I couldn't have made up in a laboratory to be more precisely what it is that we need. He's somebody that actually acts and stands for his values, and that's not something you do in the academic world. You don't want to have values that would maybe make the person that is in charge of your department uncomfortable, especially in a state university. And so Dr. Green is making a way out of no way. And he is so good at it that we trust that he will be a rising star across academia. And Becky Robbins, our communications director. Becky was the age of Gabby Zerlin, our new staff person.
Run, Gabby.
I met Becky, she was Gabby's age, and so
Josh,
really,
hold the door.
shout out Becky. So we really have in this class this new cadre that's developed, that's people that want to do that which it is we're working on doing. And that would include Josh. Wave your hand, Josh, back there. Josh has been helping. And Annie back at the table. Let's see if there's any other of the cadre. Tayaba, we can't make stay away. Tayaba's graduated already and comes back and brings friends. And Cecil Rigby is somebody that is never going to leave, are you, Cecil? Well, I sure like Cecil's in it for the long run. And Chris Gardner is a person who is a professional musician that we're wasting his talent over here sitting in the corner. But you need to come to jazz night and hear him play his upright bass, and every once in a while he takes a bow to it, which is a pretty rare thing to see somebody playing this giant fiddle with a bow. But is Joe Turkley in the room?
He's in the kitchen.
Um, Hillary, knock on the kitchen door and tell Joe to stick his head out so we can yell at Joe. As they say, armies move on their bellies. There's our chef, Joe Turkley. Joe, I'm introducing the people that help keep the army going. And Jen's gonna be serving our dinner after.
Community to do the work that needs to be done.
After the ceremony. And so, Dr. Green, I think that's basically what I have to say, but I want to lift up two other people. Keith Gray and Alan Sattler are Lancaster anchors. And they have been doing exactly what we've asked people to do, is putting up scholarships. They put up enough scholarships for 3.5 people. And one of them was too young to follow through, but we're gonna keep her scholarship on ice. But I really do want to thank you guys for that, carrying that on. And you're realizing also you're getting old and Lancaster needs people to replace you.
Yes.
Yeah. The rugby team. This is Cecil, and Cecil graduated previously. And this is his lovely wife, Marie, and she is a current student.
Thank you, Brett and Dr. Green. And congratulations to all graduates. How many of you know Brett, Dr. Green, and Becky's backgrounds in Grove? So there's from class out. So there are still some who may not. They put us
Well,
on
you
the
didn't get clearance for this. I am sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, really put me on the agenda. That was clearance. I'm going to keep it brief, really. I will. I'm going to skip the first 2 pages of what I wrote to get to the meat of it. This is really not so much it is a message to all the graduates, but he talked about recognizing people. And unfortunately, Brett and Dr. Green and Becky just don't get recognized a whole lot for all they do. These are empowering people. Let that sink in. They give us the power to do what we're doing through their services. First person that Irene and I want to honor today represent the foremost architects. These are the facilitators of the ever important institution of the Modjeska School. The first person began his lifelong career as a progressive activist in 1968, as state traveler for Southern Student Organizing Committee, calls himself the oldest living Confederate prisoner of war. Today, he says he's still out on bond after he burned the Confederate flag in '69, and for many decades has been front and center as a winning partner in litigations that have bettered the life of all of our state citizens. Founded GROW in '75 and organized Modjeska Simkins, the Progressive Network in '95. Then 9 years ago, of course, we started the Modjeska School. He's an empowering person who's fueled his conviction that learning about the people and events in South Carolina's history brings critical perspectives on both our past and our present. This school is just one of the many fruits his progressive efforts and convictions have produced as he followed in the footsteps of Modjeska, not only emulating her, but expanding upon her life's work of making a way out of no way. The second person we want to speak of today, like Ida B. Wells in the 1890s, W.E.B. Du Bois in the first quarter of the 20th century, and though he fell out of favor later, like Booker T. Washington, the work of this second person in the field of history, research, and education provides access to new hope for thousands of African Americans and all other citizens of our state. I'm not going to go through his long resume. If y'all care to read, it'll be available too. His work as lead instructor of Modjeska School places in the hands of those willing to take up the tools. It enables them to reconstruct the past human experience that we've shared so that we may see the patterns that might otherwise be invisible in the present. He's making it possible for people to choose more wisely what to do with the knowledge of that history. And third on our honoree list is a little lady who's getting up, I hope not to leave, whose tenacity and integrity enables her to refuse to have her voice and ideas dismissed just because she's a woman. She is communications czar of the Progressive Network. Among the more visible tasks she manages are necessary frequent emails to members and students at the school, researching, writing grants, newsletters, op-ed pieces, assuming the thankless task of the general wrangling of her husband. She spends many other countless hours working in less conspicuous ways to make possible the many calendared events that are held in the building, so to see that people are comfortable, fed, and welcome when they get here. She is a constant stabilizing force behind the health and success of both the network and as a whole and the school. Again, I'm not going to go through her extensive background in writing. She works with what seems like an inexhaustible supply of energy and focus. She's ever present, highly motivated, and fully capable of standing head to head with friends and foes alike. Irene and I believe it's past time to recognize the significant contributions she's made and continues to make to ensure those in her sphere of influence are accepted, loved, heard, and helped through her unflagging support. Her work over the decades, too, has not been fairly compensated. Well, I don't have any money today, sorry. However, we are convinced by the evidence of her record of dedicated service that in most measures of human value, she handily and humbly surpasses most people. The many individual and combined act of these three mirror in spirit those undertaken by the Briggs family of the famous Briggs v. Elliott, which later turned to Brown v. Board of Education, we learned about in school. They were posthumously honored with a gold medal for their contribution to the nation as pioneers. Their concerted efforts today on behalf of the Modjeska School make it possible for all so inclined to pick up their own torches to light the difficult path that leads toward understanding our mutual weaknesses and failings, so we may move together on surer footing toward a more just and sustainable society. Therefore, when I ask you to join us in welcoming them back up to the front to accept tokens of our high esteem and gratitude for these their many contributions. To Brett and Becky, in the spirit of those who served to desegregate schools in the tradition of Briggs v. Elliott, we'd like to present you with a duplicate bronze medallion of their gold medal printed by the U.S. Mint. There's one side for each of you.
Oh.
And Dr. Green.
We did this. Thank you, Cecil.
Sometimes you have to listen real closely to what's said in classes. We listen. We would like to honor you and thank you as well by giving you this rare August 1971 copy of Ebony magazine.
Oh, wow.
You know, it's rare that I'm quite literally speechless. I
Explain to them why you.
oh, okay, so this gift is it's remarkable because for one thing, yeah, let's get back on camera. For one thing, I have cited this in class, I've used it in class. But in a lot of ways, it's also symbolic of my academic career. I've done a lot of work on Black Southerners in particular, Black Southerners in the post-civil rights period. And this issue of Ebony magazine is very much about that. And it also contains one of my favorite stories ever, interviews with white politicians from the Deep South, talking about how they were all for civil rights the entire time, including such luminaries such as Strom Thurmond and George Wallace, who both said, oh, we know Black people, we've always liked them, and they've always liked us too. Sure. But again, and also I think this issue means a lot to me too, because my parents were both teenagers when this came out. So this is very much a story about my parents too, and what they were going through, and a story of how much work we have left to do in the South. I think folks think of the South as this place where it's just red states, red counties, red towns. There's no hope for progress. There's no hope for hope. But issues and stories like this really tell us that no, there's a lot more going on here, and we should always remember that. So again, thank you very much for this. This is all right, so we're gonna go ahead now and continue with our commencement program, and hope to try to keep everything on camera for Chris's sake. But first, what we're going to do, and then before we do that, I want to thank Cecil and Irene for being such wonderful students as well. Yeah, round of applause, because again, they have both been incredibly vocal and active in the school. I think it's especially funny that Irene came to school hearing last year's session from Cecil listening to our school and being a participant, and she said she had to get involved herself. So the best way to get more folks involved in the school is word of mouth, or quite literally hearing the school going on. So again, want to thank both of them for being active participants in the school. But speaking of participants, we do have a special commencement address from Cecil Cahoon, another graduate of the Modjeska Simkins School.
Good afternoon. I'm Cecil Cahoon, a proud graduate of the Modjeska Simkins School for Human Rights and one member of the South Carolina Progressive Network Education Fund Board of Directors. I regret that I cannot be with you in person this afternoon, but I'm pleased and honored to speak with you from afar to congratulate and welcome you to the work of building a greater society, a more beloved community, a more perfect union, and a real democracy in South Carolina. My wife and I had a conversation recently about selling our souls. We live in a capitalist economy, so selling our souls should not be a foreign concept. Another way of putting it, though, is investing our lives, investing our time, our labor, our energy, our blood, sweat, and tears. We concluded that everyone sells their soul or invests their life in one of two categories, either for temporal profit, the sort of gain that benefits us personally, that fattens the wallet and swells the bank account, or for causes that are bigger than ourselves and will create the kind of world in which we want to live, and purposes that will outlive us. Each of us knows people who have sold their souls or invested their lives on both sides of that divide. My wife and I made decisions early in our lives to take the second path. Both of us were products of public schools, and we became teachers in public schools. She remained in the classroom for a full career, and I left the classroom in 1998 only to lobby for better policies in public education, better funding for public schools, and better employment rights and benefits for public sector employees. Since 2005, I've worked as a field organizer for the National Education Association, primarily across the South, but with occasional projects in other regions. That work, the work that I've done with educators in public schools, especially the work I've done across the South, and with educators' allies in other organizations and communities, has grounded me out of necessity in principles of movement building, principles of citizenship in action, principles of radical, revolutionary, participatory democracy, the kind of democracy that's available to everyone. If that sounds familiar to you, especially after spending the past several months learning a people's history of South Carolina from Dr. Robert Greene and the truly stellar array of guest lecturers that Dr. Greene and Brett Bursey have curated for your benefit, if that sounds familiar to you now, it should. Principles of movement building, of citizenship in action, and of radical and revolutionary democracy are the bedrock and the guiding principles of the Progressive Network and the Modjeska School. They all come down to the principle of practicing what we preach and leading people to understand their power in a real democracy. That's heavy work, but it's worth selling your soul and investing your life to do. Now, I came to South Carolina to do and to live and to do this work starting in 2002. I spent almost 4 years doing it in Columbia. I'd spent 6 months at the State House fighting an uphill battle against entrenched conservative ideology, followed by 6 months of traveling and talking with our education leaders in all 46 counties, listening to them and reporting to them on who fought for us in state government and who fought us in state government. It was an awakening to the banality of evil. But then I took on a broader portfolio with NEA across the South, spending the years since 2005 working in every state of the old Confederacy has given me some perspective on South Carolina and its place in the region and the nation. I can describe that perspective briefly this way. For centuries, our state has been the incubator of inhumane ideas, the place where malignant seeds of public policy are germinated for propagation to other capitals of the South and the rest of the nation. This is not hyperbole. Dr. Greene and others have identified scores of examples in your Sunday deep dives and Monday evening classes. In example after example, our state has fought above its weight to train its sister states of the South and to infect the nation with more of its peculiar malices, all the way to and including this present moment. I have seen this myself from Little Rock, from Nashville, from Frankfurt, and from Jackson, from Baton Rouge, from Montgomery, from Raleigh, even from Tallahassee. A sick and twisted view of South Carolina as a leader in the worst kinds of policies, a leader in social control, a leader in suppressing the collective power of its citizens. It's almost comical to see and hear conservative leaders in other states when they run out of bad ideas or they have to face a new uprising of progressive people power. Comical to see them come almost to the point of asking, what would South Carolina do? But there's another side of that coin. Working in these foreign, so to speak, capitals since 2005 has given me a perspective on the Progressive Network and the Modjeska Simkins School, an understanding of how unique they are, not only in the South, but across the country. There isn't another organization like it, doing what it does, operating under a similar mission. If you haven't reviewed the network's website lately, you should. You'll find there these words, quote, "The initial work of the school will be training organizers to build an effective movement for social justice. As the school develops, trained organizers will lead classes in schools, churches, and communities that range from introductory civics to direct action. The long-term aim of the school is to empower citizens so they can transform the power structure in South Carolina." Unquote. The network is not an organization of organizations, but an organization of persons, the connective tissue of this work among causes between one generation and the next. The network is the active, not passive, but active and activist conscience of our state. It's all the more significant that this unique organization exists only in the beating heart of the South, in South Carolina. This is the legacy you inherit as a graduate of the Modjeska School today. The work begun by people you never knew has passed through many hands over many generations, and now it is passed into yours. What you receive today is not just a piece of paper to hang on a wall. It's an obligation, a commitment to do the work, to grow this connective tissue that now includes you. You're part of the muscle that goes all the way back to Robert Smalls and the Reconstruction Legislature, who established the promise of democracy in our state constitution. It goes back through Modjeska Monteith Simkins and the massive talent she brought into South Carolina, like W.E.B. Du Bois and Paul Robeson, to Isaac Woodard and Sarah Mae Fleming, to Thurgood Marshall and J. Wades Waring, to Septima Clark, to Joseph Delane and Harry and Elizabeth Briggs, to Millicent Brown, to Sarah Leverett and Harriet Hancock, to Chief Harold Hatcher and Lily Littlewater, to Cecil Williams and Jim Felder, to Brett Bursey and Becky Robbins, to Joe Neal and Gilda Cobb Hunter, to Vernon Burton and Armand Durfiner, to Lewis Pitts, to Robert Greene, to all of the Modjeska alumni, and to one another. You are connected. There's enough work to go around, and the batons are in your hands now. Tag, you're it. You're also the newest subjects of the law of irretrievable innocence. That is the law that says, once you know, and you can't go back to not knowing. That means you have decisions to make now. There's a reason we call this event commencement. It's not the end, but the beginning. Friends, this awareness isn't a prize or a gift. It is a burden to bear, but it's the kind you bear best by doing something with it, by carrying it forward and sharing it with others. So you brand new graduates of the Modjeska Simkins School of Human Rights have questions to ask and answer for yourself and for one another today. How will you carry that burden forward? What will you do with what you know now, with who you know now? And who are you going to bring into this unique work with us? If I were sitting in your seat today, I'd start this afternoon by reaching out to the ones who brought you into and through the school and thanking them for sharing it with you. Before the weekend is over, I would draft and send a short essay to Brett and Becky for posting on the network's website, describing what you've learned, how that knowledge will inform your work and benefit your causes. And I'd spend part of the next week reaching out to the 4 or 5 people you know who you want to bring into this connective tissue, into the network and into the Modjeska School with you and with us. As Modjeska teaches us still, this is no sitting down time. I look forward to our paths crossing and merging in person in the network and to continuing to act on our shared awareness together. Again, thank you for letting me talk with you from afar, and congratulations, fellow alumni.
Okay. All right. So I think Cecil Cahoon's message is a timely and important one. I just want to add before we get to actually calling names and giving out diplomas. One of the reasons I'm glad we were able to watch that is it has become very easy for all of us living in an age of not just disinformation, but also an age of social media, that everything is so hyper individualized now. Everything is focused on what's good for me, and only me. But I think that message and the message of the Progressive Network and the Modjeska Simkins School is a message not just of me, but of we, of all of us working together to do what we can to make this place the best place it can be. And I think Cecil's message is also timely because contrary to what some in our society may think or believe, we are all tied together. For Dr. King, it was the idea of the beloved community. And I think each and every person in this room this afternoon, the folks on Zoom, even the folks who couldn't quite be with us today, but have been with us throughout the semester, we all symbolize this beloved community come to fruition right here in South Carolina. So with that being said, this is the moment we've all been waiting for. Well, I guess if you're waiting for food, that's later, but the other moment we've all been waiting for, which is the awarding of diploma. And I want to be very specific in terms of how we're going to do this. If I do call your name, please come on up, get your diploma. I'll shake your hand and hand you your diploma. And you'll have about a minute or two to talk about your testimonial about the Modjeska Simkins School. What did you most enjoy about the school? What did you take away from the school? How did the school, in other words, impact your life? Again, I stress about a couple of minutes max. Now, I grew up in the Baptist church, and I know that folks get the Holy Ghost and they start going on, and the doors of the church are open. That's all fine and good, but for today, while the doors of the Progressive Network are open, got a minute or two, but we do want to hear what the class meant to you. So we're going to start with a couple of folks in the room and then go to Zoom as well. So the first person we want to bring up to award the diploma to is Josh Dunn. Josh Dunn. Come on.
Congratulations, Reed. Okay. Being the first one up here is incredibly nerve-wracking. But I do want to say a couple of things about what Modjeska School has meant for me. I mean, I don't really know where to start, but I guess it's not just feeling connected with everyone in this room and everyone who's not in this room here, but feeling connected across time and feeling, really a part of that long lineage. It's been transformative, and I know it's given me a lot of courage, and made a lot of my excuses a lot less palatable, and it made me really fired up and kind of jealous. Like when I see when I see other people getting into trouble, I'm like, okay, well, I need to step up and get into a little bit more trouble, and that's been a lot of fun. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who made this experience wonderful for me, and excited about more rabble rousing. So thank you.
All right. Please come on down. Annie Mahaffey. Annie Mahaffey.
Before I came into this room, and I remember how I felt the first class when I walked in, I'd only really interacted with these ideas in books. And so coming here and learning from real people who are saying the things that I've been sort of exposed to over the past year or two has been really, truly life-changing. I just feel really grateful to be a part of this bigger community, and I'm really excited to see what kind of change we can make.
All right, so I do want to go briefly to Zoom. One of our students is on Zoom right now. I have her diploma right here, but you will certainly receive it very soon. Miss Nichelle Dunlap Thompson, could you please unmute yourself?
Michelle?
Yes.
So good afternoon. Thank you all so much. I just love you all so very much. I am traveling back from the Labor Research Action Network conference, and please know that is the only thing that is keeping me from being there in that place. I can't begin to describe what exactly it is that I'm feeling at the moment. Just the overwhelming spirit of joy and just a readiness, right, to go ahead and start this revolution that is long overdue. Since I stepped down in South Carolina, I'm organizing there on behalf of Jobs with Justice. Brett and Becky have opened up their doors. The way that they have accommodated me cannot even be spoken on. But I will encourage every last one of you all to stay tuned. As Brett has always told us in every communication, it's about justice, racial justice, economic justice, and it is past time for a radical revolution. So as I sit here on the land of the indigenous people here for Portland State University, and knowing that you all are there on Modjeska Simkins beside her historical home, I stand in solidarity with you all, ready to get back into the fight, regardless of what those consequences may look like. As long as we're fighting on the side of right, as long as we're fighting for a democracy that represents all people, as long as we're fighting for that climate justice, that economic justice that we know all workers, all people are entitled to, then we already have the victory. So Gabby, Josh, I love you all. Joe, I can't wait to meet you. Becky, I honor you. I'm just so thrilled. Thank you all for everything. And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting locked up at least one more time before this journey is. With that being said, I yield. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you, all of the deep dives and speakers. And one thing in particular, Dr. Green, I'm getting ready to get off so you don't have to take my mic because I know you said you were back. I remember, and see you and your wife, I don't want to leave you all out. I remember when Brother Bill Fletcher was talking, and then he said that we needed to have a widely started literature campaign where he emphasized we must read. And by saying that and being around Becky and being around Brett, I failed my people. And I am committed now to ensuring that I not only move with a spirit, right, of fearlessness, but also with a spirit of knowledge. And saying that, I've got a lot of reading still yet to do. So I solicit you all's prayers and patience as I reduce my ignorance, as one of the Modjeska Simkins attendees said, and put the power and the passion together with knowledge. And then that way we can definitely be victorious and set some of my people free. I yield. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that, Michelle. And again, you have been such a wonderful student to have, and I look forward to seeing what sort of good trouble you get into down the road. So again, thank you so much for that message. And yeah, again, this is what makes the school what it is, right? Being able to meet all these individual people, all these fantastic people who come from different walks of life and who are all committed to doing whatever they can to make this world a better place. So thank you again, Michelle, for that wonderful message. And we're gonna go back to the folks in the room. Up next, please come on down, Stephanie Marone. Congratulations.
Hi, everybody. I'm Stephanie. My husband and I moved here 3 years ago when we retired. And I have to say, since we retired here, this is my favorite thing that I've done is coming to this school. Well, that and getting season tickets to Gamecocks women's basketball. That's really fun too. But anyways, so I am here. The thing that I learned first and foremost is humility. I came in with some experience and some knowledge. I taught civics and history in middle school for many years. And then I worked for National Park Service in a park that was a former plantation. So we did programs on the Underground Railroad, and it was on a river. So we did conservation programs. And I was president of our local federal union chapter, Okay, so I wrote grievances and I helped negotiate our contract and all that. So I came in kind of thinking I was big and bad, right? And what I learned is I'm just honored to be in the same room with some of you folks. Like, it is amazing that you have been doing this work for all of these years, and to learn about all these just fighters here in South Carolina. I would come home every night from class and with my notebook of all my notes, and I would say to my husband, look, did you know any of this? I learned so much. And so I thank you, Dr. Green. I thank you, Brett and Becky, and all the deep dive people who came in, because I didn't think I could learn so much at the age of 62, but I did. And now I look forward to, one of the things I learned is that it is a long haul, right? And so I am here to stay. And I look forward to working, especially with all the young people who have so much energy and so much wisdom at a young age. It's really pretty amazing to be around all you folks. So thank you. This was a blast.
And again, I think if you take nothing else away from the Modjeska Simkins School of Human Rights, you should take away the idea that it's never too late to learn any of these things. It's never too late to learn, period. I think that a lot of folks, when they leave the school, they say, well, why didn't I learn this before? And I think the question really should be not why didn't I learn this before, but instead, how can I help others to learn this too, right? Because we're all lifelong learners. We're all trying to navigate this world as best we can. So again, you should give yourselves credit for taking the time. Like, you're coming Monday nights, to do this class. You're sacrificing things you could be doing with that time. You're doing the reading during the week, all of these things. And so again, we really appreciate what each and every one of you has brought to this class. Up next is Jenna Rafael White.
Thank you.
Thank you. First, I want to thank Keith and Alan for letting me know about this course. They let me know about it and helped partly with a scholarship, I think, from me. So I thank them for that. I was a teacher my entire career before I had to retire on disability. And so, and my husband was too, he was a teacher. So since we've been retired, we've been working on things that have to do with education in the state, because there's been a lot of things that have happened recently, even before Ellen Weaver took over in our state, that we've had to worry about. But since Ellen Weaver has taken over, it has really, really gotten worse. So we've been fighting with that. I joined Freedom to Read to try to stop the book bans, which has gotten worse and worse. And legislation that's come across. So I've been to lots of committee hearings and spoken before different committees and before the State Board of Education, and spoken to them to try to stop different laws from going through and regulations from going through. And nothing has helped. It's all gone right on through. And things like recently they're starting to look at just this one hasn't gone through yet, but they're looking at things like anything that has to do with LGBTQ in a book. They want to name it pornography. And that's coming from the Heritage Foundation and what they want to do with the next presidency. But our state legislators are looking at that too. So can you imagine a teacher reading a book, Heather Has Two Mommies, to her first grade class, and then her being fired and named as a sex offender and put on the sex offender registry? You know, that is completely crazy. But that's what they're wanting to do. So I really, really appreciate this class and everything that I've learned in it. Because I knew some, I had a really good AP history teacher, which by the way, now they've taken away AP, African American history. That taught me a lot. Until that AP history class, I didn't know anything because back in elementary class, we had the old books that taught the way that they wanted everyone to know back in the 50s and the 60s, you know, so, but I really, really appreciate the school. I appreciate Dr. Green for letting us know the true history. And I appreciate Brett Bursey and his wife for working so hard with this school and all the things that you've done in the past to keep this school going and all the work that you've done with all of the things that you fought so hard in the past and educating all of us so that we can come and help. This is a hard fight and it's going to get even harder. You know, the Heritage Foundation with their 2025, Project 2025, is for the next Republican president. If Trump doesn't win, it's for the next one that comes in. So we need to really, really work hard. Thank you.
Again, that's a wonderful reminder of the kind of fight that we are faced with, that we have a lot of work to do, but I know that we can all do what we can to contribute to that fight as well. All right, up next, Irene Raxter Rickman.
Uh, like Dr. Green told you, my husband Cecil was the first of us to graduate from this school. And while he was taking classes on Monday night, I was watching the Food Channel. I love to watch cooking shows, and as you can tell, I love food. Well, I got a different kind of meal from this school, a different thing that Food Channel couldn't give to me. And every Monday night, I look forward to that meal. I look forward to learning about a history that I did not know of. I kind of figured it out because my people have been in this country they were here before the American Revolution. And one thing I enjoyed in this class was the poor old minister that went to the upstate and the way he described the people up there, which was basically true. It is probably some of my relatives. Especially the one I told Cecil where the guys brought the 57 hound dogs to sit outside the church when he preached. That would have been my daddy and their brothers' ancestors. But I ate this meal every Monday and got nourished in wisdom and justice and righteousness. And that's what we have to bring back to this country. We have to bring back empathy. We have to bring back kindness. We have to bring back common sense. We have to bring back, I am who I am, and you have no right to my body. You have no right what goes on in my bedroom. And you have no right telling me what I can read and what I can't read. And if I had children, you cannot tell me what I can let my children read and what they can't. It's crazy. Folks, I grew up with 1 foot in the 50s and 40s. My parents were born in the 20s. And in 1 foot into the great year of 1968, when the world awoke, there was something about that year that the world awoke. And we cannot let these people slide us back into the dark ages. It'll be even darker than what it was 50 years ago or so. And this class is what does it. Fill up, tell anybody else, fill up on this. Fill up on this, drink from this clean creek of truth and not the muddy waters that have been thrown out there to us. And I'm so grateful to you, Dr. Green. And I'm so grateful to everyone who's a part of this school, to the students. I loved being a part of it, even though I was way up yonder in the South Carolina mountains. So thank you.
And really after that, what else do I? That kind of sums everything up, doesn't it? Okay, up next is T. Todd Simon. Come on up, T. Todd Simon. Congratulations.
Oh man, want to sum my experience up in 3 words in this order: excitement, disappointment, and empowerment. All right, excitement because my only experience and understanding of Modjeska Simkins was the fact that she was the founder of Victory Savings Bank. My background is in banking and finance, so my focus is to help our people being empowered through home ownership and economic development. So I educate through that aim. But being from Columbia, South Carolina, my disappointment stems from not knowing that people like W.E.B. Du Bois, Paul Robeson, Thurgood Marshall were in my city. It seemed like it was so far away. I never learned about that in public school. I graduated from elementary school, middle school, and high school here in Columbia, South Carolina. Never saw anything, never read anything about that at all. But my empowerment comes now from being a graduate here and learning so much, all the way from the transatlantic slave trade up through the various laws and things that were passed here in Columbia that suppressed people. The activism and the things that happened at the State House that I never saw images of. The going into the Modjeska Simkins house today on my first tour, after going through the class and seeing the images of my people standing proud, having their voice being heard, but more importantly, understanding that I can do something with that voice. So as I look back now and I stand over this room and I see all of my people, I know that all of you guys, if I call, you will be there for me. And the same is when you call me, I will be there for you guys. So thank you so much, Dr. Green, Brett.
All right. Okay, so up next, we want to bring up Taylor Simon. Taylor Simon, come on.
So as most of you know, I own a bookstore. Don't have a storefront yet, long story. But it's called Liberation is Lit. And I just believe so much in the power of reading, education, and storytelling to change the world. And like a lot of you have said, build empathy, compassion, and just make us better people. And I have gotten so much out of this school, but I think the biggest thing I've gotten out of this program is the connections that I've made. I know Josh hates the spotlight, but shout out to Josh for even telling me about this like literally 2 days before the application closed. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. So I am definitely grateful and honored to be among so many people doing such good work here in South Carolina and just everywhere. And something that I do a lot in class, well, a lot just in general, sometimes my mind will drift and I'll start writing poetry because I'm a poet. And I wanted to end my time up here by reading one of the poems that I wrote during class, and don't worry, they're short. I read we don't start with a tree. We start with a seed. We start with the earth. We start with the rain. We start with the sun. And together we get the tree. Together we get the forest.
All right, up next is Gabrielle Zerla. Gabrielle.
Okay. I had to write my words down, sorry. Okay, so I study literary history, specifically times of transition. We new historicists call these moments of teetering possibility swerves. It is an undeniable choice in the crossroads of outcomes for humanity. For me, I dissect the past for some secret pattern, some way to alleviate the suffering, the hunger, the pain, the purposeful oppression and degradation of my community's body and soul. Some way to keep the hope. Dr. Green once called it making a usable history. 3 months ago, our course began, and while I was intrigued, I questioned more than once. How is this going to help now? I showed up on Mondays vowing after each class that I was too behind these experienced organizers, too anxious, too rural, too uneducated, too alone. Frustrated that there was no way I can make any difference. But I did know that we are right now in the swerve that will forever alter history. And as scary as it was to walk into this room every Monday night, Dr. Green's tutelage reminded me that this history, these stories are our stories. And that while Modjeska is right, that this is no sitting down time, there is always time to listen. Oppression will attempt to divide and conquer. Doubts will slow our steps. We will get tired and at times will seem to be no way. But we will make a way out of no way. We are the swerve toward justice, a better South, and a better world. And it is uncompromisable because of the very history we refuse to leave in the past. We have all we need to look back and push forward to be the swerve towards a future that will make Ben Tillman roll over in his grave.
Yes, again, that is one of our objectives is to make Ben Tillman roll over in his grave. I'm sure he has several times over the last few years. In fact, we have the Ben Tillman dartboard back there. Double orange. So, as you can see, Ben Tillman is a dear friend of the class. Up next is Nicole Sanchez. Nicole Sanchez.
Thank you. I moved down to South Carolina a mere 5 years ago. And I took this class because since coming to South Carolina, got a little involved in some things. It inspired it in me, you might say, the need to change things. I started with electoral change, and while that is still a large part of what I volunteer with, education and representation and just a myriad of things. And I took this class because I wanted to learn more about South Carolina and these people who I am now one of. I wanted to understand the history. I wanted to see whose shoulders I'm trying to jump off of. And I learned a lot, and I am thrilled to know that there are some giants who have worked in South Carolina, and there are still giants who are still working in South Carolina, and I am thrilled that I was able to meet them and will be continuing to work with them. So thank you.
All right. Up next is Hillary Taylor.
I don't know what to do. Since we are poking fun at Baptists, though, I've got a quick joke. What's the difference between a Baptist and a Methodist?
I don't know.
The Methodist will say hello to you in a liquor store. If you're not familiar with what a Methodist is, it's another denomination of Protestant Christianity. Recognize not everybody knows that. The thing I learned from this space is that I'm not alone. I've done most of my justice training and kind of faith-based community organizing work outside of South Carolina, and I intentionally came back to South Carolina. I'm from Columbia, and I hated growing up in Columbia. And this place has made me like Columbia, which is a strange feeling, but I actually feel excited coming back to Columbia now, not just to, you know, see my family begrudgingly, but knowing that I actually have friends who, yeah, believe and do and dream the same way that I do. What I hope that my presence here, and I will apologize for not being present on Zoom always, a byproduct of our really crappy economic system is that I have several side hustles, one of them being a chaplain job, which often conflicted with my ability to be here in real time. But it connects me to the reality that violence is very present and we are doing nothing to stop it. My job means that I care about the problem of violence and the ways that people are being over-policed, underprotected, not cared for. And so I hope my presence here tonight and, you know, for the time that I've been here allows some of you who may not be connected to faith-based communities to know that hashtag not all religious and spiritual people believe in oppression or use their beliefs, you know, to promote sectarian division. But that there are faith leaders that you can connect with, like me, to help you and your movements grow and develop. And I would love to be a part of that. I would love to show up for you and your movements. I would love for you to come and join me as I also grow my own faith and religious capacity building too, and also community organizing capacity building. All of our movements move at the speed of relationship. So thank you very much for being connected to me and being in a relationship with me.
You know, I think one of the great joys of leading the Modjeska School over the years is seeing people of so many different faiths come together to learn together, to fellowship together, to commiserate together. That's a really important part of movement building as well, is reaching across these various lines that are supposed to divide us and realizing that in fact we have a heck of a lot more in common than we don't. So again, that was a wonderful message, and I will refrain from making any jokes about a Baptist and a Methodist and a Catholic walking to a bar.
Later.
That's for the dinner time part of the festivities. Now, Chris, I know you have a short video from another graduate who wasn't able to be here this afternoon, but we do want to go ahead and pull that up as well. Make him talk.
Hi y'all, this is Nawanka. Sorry that I couldn't be there at graduation today, but I just wanted to say how much I've really enjoyed being in class with all of y'all. I really appreciated everything I've learned about South Carolina history, particularly all the stuff they don't teach you in school, and then have really been energized by the spirit of activism that animates GROW, the Progressive Network, and this class, the Modjeska Simkins School specifically, and look forward to collaborating with everybody in the future as we work to make South Carolina a better place together.
All right, now, are there any other graduating students? I think we have at least one or two who have not yet come up. All right, up next, Cora Webb.
Oh, hand grown, yes. Um, hello, everyone. I actually rushed off of the road from Charleston to get here to celebrate with everyone. I was like, not having AC and, you know, travel is not gonna stop me today, okay? One of the reasons that I rushed off the road is because I really enjoyed being a part of this space, and I was really in awe of, I'm really in awe of anybody who are our story keepers. I, like many people, I've grown up here in Columbia, South Carolina, and I moved to Charleston when I was 18. And I traveled between the two a lot, honestly. But one of the things that makes me so transient is because I was like, you know, I'm coming here to see my family and my friends, but it's a larger narrative that I'm actually a part of that I've been pretty detached from. And I also want to pull on those threads more and become more of a part of my community. And so I'm really glad to be here. I would like to share my appreciation for, also, why am I leaning down so much? I would like to share, I would like to share my appreciation for those who brought the school together, for tech support, for the stories from Brett and everyone who has, you know, made this thing. Professor, you're actually pretty funny, I'll give you that. You know, you are definitely a part of this with choking down some of these horrendous stories. So I appreciate the levity and the laughs that you brought along the ride. Thank you to everyone else. And yeah, and I'll just add this last part. My mom is my family's like story keeper. And so in honor of the things that she shared over her life to try to tell us about my ancestors, things like that, I too want to continue those traditions. And so that's another reason why I want to do this class. But thank you. This is why I should not have pulled it up.
Thank you so much, Cora. And by the way, I just want to let folks know I'm going to use that part where she said I'm actually funny all semester with my Claflin students. Because I have learned the hard way that, as one of my advisors once told me, I have a quote singular wit. Okay.
He digresses.
Well, but I digress. All right. Up next is Sandy Robbins. Come on up.
All right, I am definitely honored to be here today. And I will go on and interject here. I'm very glad that I was at the latter part because I got some great lines to add to my little story. So thank all of you. I want to begin by saying thanks to my constituents, Keith Gray and Alan Sattlers. I want to thank them so much because, again, when I got the word about the school, I immediately went online and started doing some more research, and then things just started popping up on my streaming line. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is so interesting. But I have been truly, truly honored to be a part of this particular class section. One of the things that have really, really moved me, I knew that there was so much I didn't know. But what I realized is that there is an insurmountable amount of things I didn't know that I need to know. And my family was saying, what are you doing now? I read a lot and I'm from one thing to another. What are you doing? What is this about? Well, this is about now. This is about tomorrow. This is about the future of my grandchildren. There have always been historical books and Black history in my home. And I started this as an adult because when I was coming through school, it was not taught. I laughed the other day I was at Vacation Bible School. And someone said something about Christopher Columbus. And my memory of him was there were 3 little ships in the harbor, the Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria. And that he was the world's savior. He was our savior to America. Yet to learn, Dr. Green, he was not our savior. He was not our savior. And I will draw from one of your humorous lines, and so many times during the classes, I would wait for you to say, and I digress. So yes, you brought humor as along with much education to the forum each night. And you just made me more and more hungry for things that I need to know, that I need to share. And our speaker, Mr. Cahoon, said, we must be the connective tissue. And I smiled when he said that, because I want to be the stem cell. I want to be the stem cell that feeds the connective tissue, that causes more of it to grow. Because I'm living now, and I should say I'm from a very small town, Lancaster, South Carolina. However, I was not born and raised there, but that's my home now. And the things that I'm hearing and seeing within our government right here in our state, it shakes me in my boots. It shakes me because there is work to be done. And as I listen to you at each Monday night session, as I was able to come in on the Sunday evening sessions, I realized that I am standing on shoulders of giants. Who said that? Somebody said that. I'm standing on shoulders of giants, but now I feel that my hands are interlocked with giants that will lead our next generation for years and years to come. Thank you all so much for this privilege.
All right, so I think that is it with graduates for our commencement ceremonies. Again, I want to thank all the alumni who have returned. If you're alumni for the school, please raise your hand as well. And we have quite a few alumni in the room as well. If you're a spouse or a loved one or a family member who's related to a graduate, please raise your hand as well. Okay, again, again, what we see here in this room and on Zoom this afternoon is an example of the beloved community that Dr. King and so many others have talked about, and for which Modjeska Simkins fought for as well. And I want to again thank Brett and Becky for all of your hard work with the school. I have been fortunate and lucky enough to work alongside you guys since 2019. So since before the pandemic, it seems like everything now is either before or after the pandemic. And it has been an honor working with both of you. I mean, you guys have been examples of what it means to really fight the good fight against tremendous, not impossible, but tremendous odds. And so I want to again thank the two of you for all your wonderful leadership and dedication to the cause as well. So again, give them a round of applause. Now we are at the section of the ceremony that I have not been waiting for, which is our singing of our, I guess it's our fight song slash theme song slash song of solidarity and support, titled "We Have Come Too Far." Now we'll be led in singing by Becky Robbins and Chris Gardner. And so if you have your program, the lyrics are on the back of your program. And I will do what I can to lead from the rear singing in this particular song.
Michelle, we miss you.
I miss you all too.
I'll be the same.
This is our fight song. We were supposed to master it before tonight, but it hasn't quite happened, but I'm sure it's gonna be fabulous.
The time is now.
So
The time
Chris
is
is
now.
gonna be in charge. It's done in a round. So we're gonna get fancy and we're gonna do it enough times that we're actually gonna get it down as a round, even if we're here for another hour.
It's not an hour before dinner, so we can sing for a long time.
Now, Chris is gonna do, when we do split up, we're gonna do it a couple times together, because some of you've never heard it before, some of you are pros. And then we're gonna split up into the men and the women, and I'm gonna be in charge of the ladies. And he can be in charge of the gents. Sound like a plan?
Sounds like a plan.
All right.
All right, so just brief amendment on the lyrics. On the second line, scratch the word and out. It's an extra syllable. So, anyway, we'll go as this. We have come too far, we won't turn around.
We'll flood the streets with justice, we are freedom bound. Come on.
We have come too far, we won't turn around.
We'll flood the streets with justice, we are freedom bound.
All right, we're ready.
Yeah.
Split.
Yeah, let's split.
All right,
Take it away, gentlemen.
I'll lead and then Becky will join us.
So when my lips are moving, ladies, you follow me.
We have come too far, we won't turn around.
Have come too far, we won't turn around. We'll flood the streets with justice, we are freedom bound. With feeling. Have come too far, we won't turn around. We'll flood the streets with justice, we are freedom bound. We'll flood the streets with justice, we are freedom bound. We'll flood the streets with justice, we are freedom bound. Wow. That was. Thanks for putting up with it. Yes. Really, I'm so proud of y'all.
We can actually take our photo. We want a group photo now. And that after the group photo, we'll socialize because some of you, your flesh is strange to us. It's pixels on my screen. And we need to connect with your tissue. But we want a picture, and I would think maybe we should go outside in the heat in front of the sign. Because there's not enough room in here for it.
But then
But
you don't get Michelle.
Yeah, we need Michelle.
So there.
Oh.
You still there? Michelle.
I'm here.
All right. All right, well, let's gather around Michelle.
Okay.
Oh, you all are so sweet.
Wouldn't have been the same without you.
I hate that I'm not there.
You know, I have to like squat down and the shelves this looming figure above. Thought it's moving.
The big sister is watching.
A
little overwhelming.
Good need, don't you think? Stuff there, I think it's time to forget about.
Yeah. Even though we're.
Where'd Brett go?
I didn't roll with that comment, but.
Oh, there we go. Nice.
Where are we supposed to look?
Yeah.
Well, I got it so loud.
Yeah, if he's in it, you're. Yeah.
Got a real photographer here.
Here's Becky.
Michelle is head and shoulders above the rest.
Not that kind of picture.
Everybody on 1, 2, 3. Oh, perfect. Got him.
I love you all.
Taking it down.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We're going to take now, sorry.
Okay. Take care.
Bye, Michelle.
Bye, Michelle.
All right. Love y'all.
Well, I want to encourage people that you stay in chat for a while, if you have to leave, go. But if you don't, stay. And somewhere in the world at 5 o'clock and the bar is open, we have beer online. We have all kinds of sodas. We have water with bubbles in it. We have hot coffee and cake. And Brother Turkley says the food is ready, but let's give it a.